Now here to give us an inside look at the straw poll field, our former RNC spokeswoman and senior counsel for the Senate Judiciary Committee, Sherilyn Harley-Lebon, and former Deputy National Finance Director for the DNC, David Mercer. Welcome to you both.
Good to be with you.
All right, let's talk about the fact that Ohio had a straw poll last night, and I believe Mitt Romney came out pretty strong there, finishing 25% behind him. Tim Pawlenty and Michelle Bachmann were both about 10 percentage points back. Sherilyn, what do you make of that?
I think that those results are pretty, I think, standard of what we are expecting right now, because Romney is ahead, and I think he represents what the voters are looking for. Someone with strong experience leading a state, economic background, and that's what we're not seeing with this president.
What do you make, though, of Pawlenty jumping up into the 16% range? And straw polls are so tricky because a lot of times they're very small, precise measurements, but he's been having a tough time gaining traction,
Right.
and here he finishes at a very
Right.
respectable second-place showing.
I think, again, with Pawlenty, he's beginning to get a little bit more momentum as he's becoming more comfortable with being out there, and people are seeing that he has more of a personality and is starting to talk more about his record in Minnesota.
David, are Democrats worried about any of these candidates just yet?
Not yet at all. The GOP is in quite a pickle here in that, you know, they want, or they have doubts about a candidate like Romney who appeals to independent voters and could position well for a general election. But then on the other hand, they want to see or lean towards a candidate like Bachmann, who's to the extreme right and probably unlikely to be elected in a general election. And that poses the problem that we saw in 2008. They tried to graft those two elements, being with McCain and Palin. We saw the results of that, and I think they're in quite a uncertain position, especially given what Obama did in the last quarter fundraising with $86 million raised, almost doubling his last showing from last year, and showing the uncertainty on the Republican side. You have the Republicans who in 2007 at this time raised $100 million. Together now they've only raised $34 million. So there's a lot of confusion and uncertainty on that side.
And let's talk about the fact this is an unsettled field, because if you look at some of the latest Fox News poll, when you ask among Republican primary voters, who do you prefer? We've got in the top 5 Romney, then Perry, then Bachmann, Giuliani, and Palin. And so, Sherilyn, that means 3 out of the top 5 are people who haven't even declared they may get in.
Right.
Oh, I think this is an indication of how unstable our situation is in the United States, because people are just, they want someone who can show some leadership. I love David's expression, pickle, because we are in a pickle. And when we're looking at this depth debate, we have the President of the United States who's walked away from this debate and said, okay, now, Congress, you handle it. And I'll tell you something. I liken it to having discussions with my children. I say to my kids, if you don't do what you're going to do, you're going to lose your privileges. Well, this president has walked away from his duty, and in my opinion, I think he should lose his privileges too.
You're going to ground him.
Absolutely.
I can tell, Sherilyn, you'd like to.
Absolutely, and I hope the American voters will as well.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Iowa. They've announced who's going to be in their straw poll. It's a big indicator for a lot of people who watch these kinds of things. For a lot of people, it can make or break whether they can go forward with any fundraising or not. Perry hasn't declared, but there is, you know, all but this assumption that he probably will get in. He's not going to be on that ballot, though, David, in Iowa. How much of a handicap is that, or isn't it for him?
I think it's a big handicap, especially for Romney, who is also not going to be on that ballot, having chosen this time.
Actually, I think he might be.
Is he on the ballot?
He is going to make it onto the
But he's
ballot.
not running.
Right.
I don't think he's
But
running
he's
in
not
the straw. He's
actively
not
running.
actively participating in the straw poll. And with that, you know, you're going to have there's the public policy polling in addition to your Fox News's polling that shows a increase in support for Bachmann. She's now actually in the public policy polling showing a slight lead against Romney. Now, given August 13th, when she is likely to win, being a native Iowan, having a bunch of money, appealing to social conservatives, she's probably going to blow the field out, which is trouble for Pawlenty, and it's also trouble for Romney, and puts us in the same situation, or as pickle, as I mentioned before, where it's going to be undetermined as we, on the Democratic side, are seeking to coalesce, unite, and post the numbers both in polling and in fundraising to put the organization forth to get our message out on behalf of the American working
I'm
family.
not bothered at all. It's It's not even August. We have 9.2 unemployment. We've got a long way to go. These polls, it's so early. I think that a very strong Republican candidate nominee is going to emerge. And again, with problems in the Middle East, 9.2 unemployment, very low economic growth, I think the Democrats have a very difficult job, and so does this president.
And I think you'll agree to disagree on that point.
Right.
We do
David
disagree.
and Sherilyn, thank you both for coming
Thank
in.
you.
Pleasure to be with you, Shannon. Thank you.